Welcome to the Filmcast's review of Plane, the new movie by director Jean-François Richet. I'm going to read the plot summary from Google.
All you gotta say is, "I'm Captain Brody Torrance." That's all you gotta say. That's the plot summary. He's Captain Brody Torrance.
Pilot Brody Torrance saves passengers from a lightning strike by making a risky landing on a war-torn island, only to find that surviving the landing was just the beginning. When dangerous rebels take most of the passengers hostage, the only person Torrance can count on for help is Louis Gaspar, an accused murderer who is being transported by the FBI. All right, folks, let's talk about our overall thoughts on Plane. Plane thoughts, Devindra.
Plane good. Plain good. To echo Bill Gay Aberry's review, plain good. I really enjoyed this movie. I've seen a few of these Gerard Butler actioners, and I think they've been mostly fine. Olympus Has Fallen is genuinely good, like genuinely a good action movie. And I feel like this one, what I really dig about it is that it is very much about the process of being a pilot. And of, I love the whole opening sequence of them just preparing for the plane. A lot of technical speak, a lot of like, okay, hey, you're the flight attendant, like let's get this going. I kind of love that. I kind of love seeing how all these little things work, and this movie actually devotes time to that, whereas I think a lesser movie would not. So I appreciated all that. This movie is also good with just good with names. I feel like good names. Brody Torrance, Bonnie, the flight attendant, Louis Gaspar. I'm not a fan of Tony Goldwyn's Scarsdale.
Scarsdale. Super.
When I hear the name Scarsdale, I do not think like really, really good fixer. Okay, I don't want to hear military. I don't want to hear like who are the military guys calling him Scardy. Scardy's not a none of that is cool. But anyway, I like so much of this movie. I think the action is pretty solid too, and Mike Coulter is also pretty fantastic. I like him. I've liked him in everything. I've been talking about him in Evil, the CBS/Paramount Plus series, and he just has a great sense of presence. Like he should be in more action movies. He was actually in something I saw recently that I just talked about, Carter, that wild Korean action movie. He just
let him play
Kratos. 5 minutes.
He could play Kratos.
He could play Kratos. He could. I like Mike Coulter. He was also very good in Luke Cage. I think overall, like this is pretty good setup for like a Die Hard type movie, right? This is Die Hard on an island, basically, and it clearly is taking influences from movies like that, and just like pretty straightforward, pretty solid. The only thing I would say is like I would like a little more friction. I would say, like this movie feels like everybody is kind of like doing their jobs and trying to do it well, right? Everyone's trying to do a good job. Even the guy who screws up like the weather forecast early on. It's like everyone's like, yes, sir, to the work. Yes, we'll get all these people back. There's not much like complication or mystery there. And also Mr. Brody Torrance, kind of boring. Kind of boring in the way that...
How dare you?
I think the Rocks...
I don't know if you saw Devindra. He has a daughter.
He has a daughter.
I don't know if you clocked that.
As every parent does, they cannot wait to spend New Year's with their kids.
Yeah,
with their teenage kids. Their daughter, who by the way has a perfect relationship with him.
Any teenager, the only thing they want is to spend New Year's with their dad.
I'm here waiting for you in Hawaii, Dad. I cannot wait to spend New Year's with you. I'm just gonna hang out in this beach house in Hawaii. I would say the difference between him and sort of like John McClane or something, right? Where I think of like Die Hard as like a perfect script. I think of so much about that movie as a template of like action movies that have followed since. And the great thing about McClane is that he's flawed, right? Bad dad, pretty much. Bad husband. Or at least like somebody who's trying to deal with like decisions his wife is making. Is like,
well, I don't know if you saw it, Junior, but in the movie, Brody Torrance has a daughter, and he's often late for things.
He's often late for things.
She's like, "You're going to be late, Dad," and he's like, "I promise, I'm not going to be late." So there's a flaw right there.
It feels like a Die Hard type movie with the rough edges kind of sanded down. And hey, the Die Hard movies kind of lost that, or eventually, right? Like John McClane became a superhero, but that first movie was perfect. And I think it's the flaws that really makes it work. So I really enjoyed this. I think it's pretty like, it's better than most action movies I've seen. And certainly I like the process of the early parts, but you know what? Flaws are good. Let characters work their flaws. It makes them better.
Jeff Canada, what you think Plane?
Well, Dave, what I think Plane best summed up Inform Limerick.
Limerick's pretty eloquent for caveman talk.
Thank you. Ready? Here we go. Limerick.
Yeah.
If you want your film to entertain, it's frequently tough to refrain from adding in spices when simple suffices. Look how fun it can be when it's plain.
Nicely done, Jeff. Nicely done.
Thank you. I'm not just joking about that. I'm not just making a clever pun, although it was very clever. I do think the strength of this movie is its simplicity. Mm-hmm. And I agree with basically everything you said, Devindra. Although I do think there's nothing wrong with giving our main character a flaw. And I do think it is perfectly summed up as Die Hard with the rough edges sanded. I thought that was beautifully said. However, one of the things I give this movie the most credit for is what's not in it.
Mm-hmm.
The movie does not need to give me backstory, side story. Louis Gaspar,
sure.
We know like 3 things about that dude. And a worse movie would spend so much time telling you why he's not actually such a bad guy, and it would load this movie down with a bunch of crap we don't care about.
I would like to spend more time with Louis Gaspar though, but
well,
you could do that smartly.
We know where that's headed.
Mm-hmm.
But I love how, like a Die Hard movie, this movie just sort of gets in and gets going right away.
You're in the airport, like second one. In an airport.
Right. We're not spending hours like setting up morning breakfast with the kid and, oh, life is normal now. And, you know, so many movies just give you an entire first act that's like, this movie's called Plane. Where's Plane? Want Plane, give
Show
Plane.
Me the plane. Yeah.
Show Plane, not breakfast with the kids. And I love that the movie understands what it's there to do. Also, like a Die Hard movie, the reason I love Die Hard movies, not just Die Hard movies that have Die Hard in the title and Bruce Willis in them, but the entire subgenre that was birthed from Die Hard. I adore Die Hard likes, which is basically to say ordinary person in extraordinary circumstance. And that this movie like gives you that. It puts this guy in way over his head, and he has actually some really smart ways to wiggle out of it. And I liked that. I had a blast with this movie. It just hits the edge of goofy at times, and that's okay. But mostly it's grounded. It's, you know, there's a bunch of other people on the plane. Again, I love that the movie doesn't waste my time telling me about all of them. I don't care.
You kind of get a sense. You have the jerk, the guy who's a jerk, the guy who's kind of like the influencer. Like you get a sense of who these people are.
Don't you think 9 times out of 10, this movie has a bunch of scenes that I don't care about, that aren't necessary, that's delving into all those interpersonal relationships. Who cares? Nobody cares. Show me plane and show me island, show me fun, action, cool stuff. And this movie gets it. It trims the fat. It gets right to the good stuff. And the good stuff is actually pretty darn good and pretty darn entertaining. And I went to the movie theater hoping to be entertained, and I was. My intelligence was never insulted. I recommend this movie. I think Plane is darn good.
Wow. Okay, great.
All right.
Well, Jeff, I have a limerick inspired by your review of Plane.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Here we go. Here we go.
You did a limerick, huh? Okay.
Okay, let's give it a shot, okay?
All right.
When it comes to a movie called Plane, few others are on the same plane. Why can't they let go of plot overflow? The answer is simple and plain.
There you go. Well done, David.
I wanted to use plane 3 times.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. The circle is complete, Jeff. We're teaching each other things. Anyway, I thought this is a very efficient action film. It's even the title is efficient, right?
Yeah,
it's a movie about a plane, and Gerard Butler gets to do some heroic things.
Yeah, bad guys are bad.
Bad guys are bad, good guys are good. I'll say two things about this movie, and then let's get into spoilers, okay? Number one is I appreciated that there was a lot of attention focused on what this Southwest Airlines would do in this situation. I mean, Trailblazer Airlines would do in this situation. Early on, it cuts to the control center. Let me just tell you guys, I know what those rooms look like. They don't look like that.
Okay. They're much more boring. Yeah.
They look, it's way more, this is like beautiful, warm lights, designer furniture. Everyone's wearing like designer clothes. No, this would be like, it's like fluorescent lights in like a table that you can buy from Costco, and like everyone's using a Dell laptop. Like that's what it would be.
Dave has been a fixer for major airline.
That's right.
Before he comes in, like, I'm Dave Chen. And every second we spend not typing on our Dell laptops in this fluorescent lighting is measured in lives lost or saved.
I did like that there's a scene where Tony Goldwyn's Scarsdale character like gives the guy a hard time. Like the guy, one of the Trailblazer Airlines people, like authorizes the flight. He's like,
the weather guy who fucks us all
fly
up.
Right through the storm. That's going to be a good idea.
We'll save 50 gallons of fuel. Don't worry about it.
Scarsdale's like, how much money did you save? And he's like, $12,000. And he's like, that's going to barely be enough to cover the tip on this project, basically, right? And it's honestly anti-late stage capitalism, because it's like, it's basically like you're saving some money in the short term, but like how much is it going to cost? This is an international incident now that is going to be probably, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not going to give away what happens at the ending of Plane in the pre-spoiler section, but I'll say whatever the outcome is, Trailblazer Airlines is not coming back from this.
Never going to recover from this.
Either all the people die or they're saved. And I think you can guess which one it is. But in either case, like even if they're alive, they're going to be traumatized by this. Like it's going to be, we're going to hear lawsuits for decades to come from this. So I appreciated that it's very much like, hey, don't save a buck and to lose $10 later down the line. Appreciated that.
I mean, it is both that criticism, but also like, oh man, all these people are trying to do the good thing, right? Like everyone's like, oh, the CEO's like, yes, Scarsdale, I will do whatever you say. And the weather guy's like, yes, Scarsdale, yeah, you brought me down a peg, but I'll listen to you, Scarsdale.
Well, Devindra, you say, I think that's very accurate, but I think that I can't believe I'm saying this during our review of Plane, but there is a sickness in America. I'm 100% serious right now. People like stories of heroism. They don't like doing the boring shit that would make it unnecessary for there to be heroism, right? An apartment building goes up in flames. People like outpouring of support, like let's donate millions of dollars to like help these people who are homeless. But elect people who would put in place regulations that would prevent the fire from happening in the first place. No one gives a shit. And so, but I think we see that at work in the movie where like, everyone's like, yeah, step in, let's say, but like do the simple shit that would have prevented this from happening in the first place. No one's interested, right?
This movie's called Plane, David, not good management.
The second thing I'm going to point out is, I've been thinking a lot about Asian people dying in movies.
Yeah.
Because in 2021, former Filmcast guest Nancy Wong Yoon was part of a study from the Annenberg Institute where she basically studied 1,300 movies and found that when there was an Asian character in a movie, 25% of the time they died violently in movies. And Daniel Day Kim had said, like, most of the time when I was up for an Asian person role, like I died violently, and it like really restricted his amount of roles. And so I'm kind of like more sensitive to it than I would be otherwise.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. Ton of Asian people die in this movie, guys. Like ton of Asian.
But at least there are a lot of Asian.
Well, that's
people
the thing.
In this movie.
That's the thing. Here's what I appreciate. Okay, the movie is very 80s in its sensibility. Like even in the trailer clip I played, it's like I'm starting to like this guy. That's a very like 80s movie.
Yeah.
And so a movie like this would have, if it came out in the 80s, would have been completely unabashedly racist in its depictions of Asian people. Yeah. But in this movie, they threw in Asian people all over the place.
There's all over the place. It's abashedly.
It
has some bashing.
There's the co-pilot is Asian.
Yep.
One of the mercenaries is Asian. Some of the passengers are Asian. And so even though I do think this movie feeds into Yellow Peril racist caricatures at the end of the day, and therefore is a net negative for Asians in pop culture. I was like, hey, appreciate you made a little effort there, movie, putting all the Asians in there.
I do think the other problem though is all the brown Asians bad. Brown Asians terrorists. You know, I was thinking about this movie compared to something like Captain Phillips, right? Which is a movie that actually tries to give us some of that nuance. And, you know, I know you're saying like this movie's efficient. It's nice to have efficiencies and nice to like not have tons of backstory, but a little bit goes along when I think of the Die Hard script and just how freaking perfect that is. Yeah, and the side characters are interesting. You know?
Yeah, and I think you're pointing to the fact that like the villains of this movie are like pretty one note.
Villains are one note. Yeah. Louis Gaspar could have used more notes. Yeah. Could have used a little more. You know.
I will say one other thing about this movie though. It not based on any existing IP. It is not a sequel. I mean, unless you consider it a sequel to other Gerard Butler movies. You're not setting up a franchise. It's
I agree. We should root for movies like this to succeed at the box office. I agree.
It's a old school one-off action movie with a charismatic lead that isn't trying to do anything other than entertain you right now. Yep. Right? And is it flawed? Hell yeah, it's flawed. But man, it just felt like, wow, it felt like a throwback to a different time for sure. And it
Jeff,
was just,
it sounds like you need to be watching more Gerard Butler movies.
I guess.
You want that throwback vibe.
Angel Has Fallen, Jeff. I think it's on Netflix. Anyway, all right.
But that's a sequel, isn't it?
The first one.
I watched Angel Has Fallen, which is the third film, I think, without having seen any of the other ones. And I was completely fine with that. So it's a good one. It's a good one. Anyway, let's get to spoilers.
Wait, one more quick thing.
Yep.
Based on exactly what you're saying, which is I haven't watched a lot of these, but I did come away from this going, Gerard Butler's really good at what he does.
He is.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, like there are sequences that could have fallen flat with a guy that can't pull it off, and he, he does some. There are some sequences in here of him flying the plane and conveying, and what you think about it is he's sitting in a room that is supposed to look like a plane, but isn't a plane, and he's acting his ass off. Pretending a lot of stuff is happening that isn't happening.
He commands authority as the lead of 300. He still does.
It's these are the kind of movies that you don't really credit the performance, but it's a great performance. For what it is, it's not easy to pull off, and he does it. And man, I was impressed by that.
Also, quick shout out to his first fight. The first fight where it's like basically a long take of him like wrestling a single dude to suffocate him and break his neck. Good stuff. It was a good little fight.
All right, I have more thoughts about this, but let's get to spoilers. So let's talk about spoilers for Plane starting right now. On the Gerard Butler performance, I think he has a really fascinating face because he has kind of a heroic, affable nature to him, but he often looks like he's in pain as well. He's often like in agony. And I think that's what part of what makes him so appealing to people is because he is heroic. He does do the right thing. He is kind of a badass, but it comes at great cost.
Yeah. And John McClane gets hurt, and
right.
He really
I think we as viewers, as humans, like we relate to that. We like that journey. We don't want it to be costless for our heroes, right? We want them to suffer a little bit because if it's too easy, then it's like we can't relate to them. So I really like that about Gerard Butler. It's just his persona, the way he looks. He often has this look like. Like
angry teddy bear.
He's often
how you always say.
And so
I'm about to burst out of this pilot shirt. Yeah,
exactly, totally. All right. So anyway, other thoughts about the ending. So I appreciated how it has a pretty realistic depiction of what it would be like for Gerard Butler to try to call Trailblazer Airlines.
That's pretty solid.
That was the best scene in the whole movie. It's like, sir, we're going to get a lot of these calls. And then later on when they replay it in the office, you're
because it makes sense. It's like, I would say 80 to 90% of the process stuff felt very...
legit.
Not necessarily accurate, but like it felt like it fairly true to life. It's like, this is a reasonable approximation of what they might do in this situation.
My favorite part of that, though, is literally the movie's logic for how he's able to make that phone call. He did some shit.
Yeah, he did some shit.
He didn't not do something. He did something.
He looked at the wires and he plugged two together.
He knows how to use a phone thingy.
He didn't not do something. You got to give him credit because
he remembers the customer service line by heart.
Yeah.
What did he do? It's not easy to tell.
It doesn't matter.
It's so great.
Yeah.
I also want to say, I'm not proud of this. I could not help myself. In my screening, which was not a press screening, it was a public screening in the middle of the day, early screening. It was like a Friday.
Same.
I went on a Friday at like 1:00, packed. When
because you're so desperate to go there from Pale Blue Eye, but yeah.
Yes. I rushed there.
Yeah, rushed away. Yep.
When the airplane wheel collided with the main bad guy's face, I screamed out, "Plane!"
That's funny, Jeff.
The plane got its revenge.
It was like because there's this whole journey you go in. For me, I was like, oh, this movie's called Plane. Okay, we're on a plane. And I had no idea what the movie's about, by the way. I had no idea the plot. I hadn't seen any single trailer. I didn't know anything about it. I knew it was called Plane, and it had Gerard Butler in it. That was it. That's all I knew.
And you were ready to reject it for that reason alone initially.
Right.
But
that felt like But so we're on the plane. Bad things are happening in the plane. I'm like, oh man, is this going to be a whole like plane? We're going to be on the plane in the air. No, I didn't know we were crash landing on an island. So most of the movie, it's nothing to do with a plane. I'm like, this movie should have been called Island, not Plane. But then it loops back around at the end, and I was like,
they can't stop talking about the plane.
Yes,
back to the plane.
You
gotta go back.
Plane. You did it. You pulled it off. I was so happy.
I also appreciated how at the end, it's not like, oh, we can just take off and the plane is fine. It's like, dude, the plane is effed up, man. Like it has no doors. They can't pressurize. So it's like
so cool.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we have to land at an island 50 miles away, which hopefully is not also run by separatists.
Yeah. But luckily there's the peaceful airport haven thing, like right over the mountain, just a hop, skip, and a dump from here.
right over the edge. Yeah. So, but I did appreciate that he wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna fly it away. Like it's like they acknowledge that damage was done to the plane.
Yeah, that line where the guy's like, I'm gonna need you to get to 10,000 feet, and he's like, I don't have doors, man. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was awesome.
I do think also that there is something about witnessing the efficient might of the American military that's just like as an American, it is like a balm, you know. And I say that I know it's obviously in many ways evil, and
there was no American military here, though.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Those were private contractors, which is the thing destroying the world, right?
But I have a feeling they were ex-military. But anyway,
they're all
when they come in, it's just like, oh, that is so satisfying when they like take out all those guys.
Yeah.
And then like the Asian military guy gets out the freaking 50 cal, like
dude,
the sniper thing. It's like
I've never seen that in a movie. The 50 cal where like goes through the door and then pushes the guy's body. Oh,
it's just like
so satisfying.
It's so satisfying. It's just
I don't really like gun violence.
Too many guns.
Awesome.
It's a very simple pleasure, you know?
It speaks to the fact that the movie is called Plane. It speaks to this lizard part of your brain that's like, me like see thing go through other things.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yes. It's so satisfying to see those guys just get pushed back. And then I thought, they're definitely killing the 50 cal guy. And then the 50 cal guy doesn't get got.
Yes.
I loved it.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. So anyway, any other thoughts? Any thought more on Plane?
Plane sequel, when?
Yeah, Plane 2.
There's going to be more. This movie's doing pretty well.
So first of all, I mean, what's awesome about Plane is they got the sequel titles all written in it. It can be PL2NE.
Oh, that's
and then
good.
The next one is PLAN3, right? So it's like, you already have the sequels.
I think they should call it Another Plane.
Still flying.
I don't get it, Jeff.
Another plane?
All right. Well, at the end of the day, it's really impressive that
we all like Plane.
It was fun.
That Jean-François Richet made a movie.
Like, you can still have fun at the movies, guys.
You can still have fun at the movies. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.